Did God create the universe and everything in it?
Of course.
Did God know everything that was going to happen before he created the universe?
Yeah, God knows everything.
Okay. Could God have created a different universe where things happen differently?
Yeah, he could have.
Cool. So you believe that God could have created a different universe, but specifically created this one, and he did it with full knowledge that people would sin and fall short of the glory of God, and that he would need to come down and sacrifice himself in a blood ritual to serve as a loophole. He could have created a universe where maybe things didn't go that way. Maybe there wasn't sin, or that maybe there was a different resolution for sin. But you believe that God specifically chose this universe where countless people are going to be damned and doomed to hell for the sin of not believing in God, and that he then set up blood ritual magic as the best solution to it. And you think that this is an example of love. Why wouldn't it be more loving to have either never created the universe at all, or created the universe differently so that you and I both agree and we both go to heaven?
Yeah, we could both go to heaven if we believe in Jesus. So I think
I give up, Emmanuel. Yeah. I fucking give up. I hand walked your ass to a point and specifically set it up, and you just ignored all of it to say we could both go to heaven. You think God created this universe instead of another. Could God have created a universe where we didn't sin?
Yes, he could have, but we wouldn't know his
and
love.
That would have been the more loving act. That would have been the more loving act where nobody has to go to hell. So the fact that you think that this poisonous, bullshit, ridiculous scenario where God comes down and takes human form and sacrifices himself to serve as a loophole so that people who don't deserve it can go on to the magical land through a blood magic ritual is a demonstration of love. Your notion of love is perverse, and I want nothing to do with it. It is disgusting to me that you would advocate as love the notion that killing someone and slaughtering them to serve as a loophole for somebody else's wrongdoing is the most profound statement of love. Your psyche, your psychology has been so perverted by religion that you no longer know what love is, and you have sacrificed your human on the altar of a gross and disgusting myth that isn't even true. Thanks for calling. See you next time.
About slavery. In Exodus 21, verse 16, we read, "If you kidnap someone and are caught with them in your possession, or are caught having sold them, you are to be put to death."
So Exodus 21:16 condemns selling stolen people, but that's not the same as condemning slavery itself.
Please don't tell me the Bible affirms slavery. It doesn't.
It does. Leviticus 25:44 through 46 says, "As for the male and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire them. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you to inherit as property forever."
God is not pro-slavery. God abhors slavery.
According to the text, God gave Moses laws allowing slaves to be purchased, kept permanently, and inherited.
Oh, what about, though, the atheist will say when it comes to property? Slaves are your property, the Jews talked about. Nope, slaves were not the property in the sense of the whole human being.
Leviticus 25:46 says explicitly, "You may will them to your children after you to inherit as property forever."
But then, at a minimum, when it came to 7 years or beyond 7 years, you had 7 years to keep a slave, and that was it. Then they went free.
The 7-year release was not a rule for all slaves. It applied specifically to Hebrew servants. Exodus 21:2 says, "When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and on the 7th go out a free person." But it makes a distinction between Hebrew servants and foreign slaves.
All praise to Yahawah.
Shalom, shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto YAHAWAH BaHashem, YAHAWASHI BaHashem, Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the mighty Akim Wakwafim, who are diligently waiting to be delivered from this final captivity, as well as a speckled bird that may look like the other nations but are actually Yasharallah. This is Brother Kawakal coming at you with no lesson Today's lesson is going to be on this thing, and I'm not going to lie, I really want to say that this is something that's kind of holds a close place in my mind, heart, whatever you want to call it, because this was something that I kind of battled with myself, and I want to say that I genuinely did hate this. I actually did hate this because growing up, obviously I was a Christian. Well, maybe not obviously, but growing up I was a Christian, and I didn't know about Hebrew Israelites and all that stuff. I didn't even know that I dead ass. Hold on, because I need to tell you, dead ass. When I was a Christian, as a matter of fact, before I even came into the truth, I didn't know of. I heard about, the J's and stuff like that, but I didn't know that the Bible said specifically, "Oh, we are dealing with the Israelites and this and the third," like that. I never knew about that in the Bible, and I think that just goes to show just how little I read the Bible, on top of just in general how they barely talked about it, and the only curriculum was whatever the pastor told you, and that is the full extent of Christianity. Which, again, like, this is important. This is actually important. I didn't even realize this coming into this lesson, that my whole perception, my whole understanding on the Bible was what the pastor would say. So what the pastor tells me, that's basically my whole entire belief system. And even then, I was still call him LAWAYA, because this is definitely not a lie, but this is definitely not a lie, and I mean that like genuinely. But basically, the thing about that is that even while I was a Christian, I had so many questions on stuff like that, and I even talked about this in a previous lesson. I won't get into that, but that's the amazing thing about it, where I didn't just take stuff at face value or whatever. I actually examined, actually reflected, actually thought more about it rather than just accepting Christianity for what it is. And I want to preface this by saying that just because these atheists are saying some things that are attacking the Christians, that does not mean I'm on the atheist side. And it's really just a matter of the Christianity is something that I grew up with. So when I see the Christians, fumble and, lose conflicts or whatever, then, I kind of like point and laugh at that. For me, as a me thing. All right. Outside of that, in terms of what this is, or in terms of the actual topics that they brought up, obviously, like that's something that Christians normally, because that was the thing about these guys. They didn't know. It feels like they didn't know, or they were trying to be insincere in talking about and bringing these stuff up, because yes, the Bible does talk about slavery. The Bible does say you're allowed to have slaves and stuff like that, which we don't shy away from. Just like, even correct myself, we shouldn't shy away from. All right, yes, the objective reality is that yes, slavery is okay, but the asterisk, if you will, in that statement is that slavery is not supposed to be meant to be about, oh, you have a slave and you can just abuse him. Because the thing about slavery is that people only think about slavery in the way that Esau had us Israelites. That's the only way people think of slavery. They don't think of slavery in in the biblical sense. Like, for example, I don't even want to I'm not even trying to get into this, but an example is what's his name? Jacob. Jacob, when he went to his uncle, his wife's, or not wife's, his mother's brother, I forgot his name. Fuck. He went to his future wife's father to work for him, and basically Jacob was basically a quote unquote slave / servant for him, and he, it was for a period of time, and then he got to go free. All right, that was basically how slavery works out. And even then, we have laws in terms of slaves, because we're allowed to have slaves of our own nation, which is what they did not put in, where we still have to let our people free if we do take in slaves from our own ethnicity and stuff like that. But just in general, like, there are literal scriptures that talk about, oh, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that, where Esau, Edom basically did all that and broke all those laws. All right, so as a result of that, this is the reality that we don't shy away from. And again, the whole point of Christianity, it is about taking the Bible, not actually reading it or picking and choosing what they want to read from it, and then building their whole doctrine off of what a few little things that they do, that they want it to be about. All right, Isaiah 8 verse 20, to allow to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So this hold on, these guys, this guy, they were basically talking and saying all this stuff about about slavery in the Bible and how it's not in the Bible, it's not endorsed. But the atheist was basically proving them wrong and bringing out scriptures. So that was a perfect example of how these people claim to be followers of God and Jesus, but they were literally, and that's a crazy thing. I think that's incredibly humiliating, that it's not just the fact that you're getting corrected, but it's the fact that you're getting corrected by someone that openly speaks out against the Bible, but they know the Bible better than you. And I think that is something that I definitely I don't really know what the word to say, but I would, and I'm not even saying this from like an arrogant perspective, because very clearly, definitely, there could come a time where I might say, oh, I didn't study this, or I didn't know about this, or whatever, stuff like that, where I'm trying my best to mitigate that as much as I can by studying and stuff like that. But there may come a time where that just happens, and I say, oh my God, I didn't know about this and stuff like that. So hence why, we're constantly studying the scriptures so that we're not, caught off guard and stuff like that. But it's like, this is the type of thing that just feels like you really should have, studied this before you did a whole video on it. You put this out in the world to flat out lie. All right, you're basically lying, and you expect people to just believe you. And hold on, because there was another video. Bear with me one moment. Fuck, is it over here? I think, give me one moment. I want to see if where the hell is my thing? Like, why is it not showing up? Alright, maybe it's over here. Whatever, it's fine. Anyway, you get to the point where, how did I even move? You get to the point where these people are, they don't know the scriptures, and they just basically are getting humiliated by people that are against it. So it's kind of like it's like kind of like a fish debating with a cat about water, and the cat knows more about water than a fish. That's basically the equivalent of it, where it's just like, that's kind of humiliating. So that's why, for me personally, I'm not on either one's side. All right, in general, I'm not. Well, technically, no. I guess in terms of just the simple belief in a God, I'm always going to be on the Christian side. Sure, but in general, I would never kind of like associate myself with that. Which even then, you basically get the point. But the main thing is just that which actually, speaking of which, I did a lesson on kind of siding with a Christian. But anyway, my main thing is that these people are not speaking according to the word of YAHAWAH. So how can they claim to be followers of YAHAWAH? All right, Romans chapter 14 verse 5. One man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. Let me get this. Nope, that's not it. Isaiah 45:7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So the Lord, Yahawadah, does good and evil. All right. So he made the balance of good and evil. And let me actually get a precept before I keep on going. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 1. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Okay. So there is a balance. Hold on. Let me get this as well. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 8. A time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Basically showing the balance of good and evil. Over here, verse 3, a time to kill and a time to heal, time to break down and time to build up. Basically showing you the balance with Yahawadah, where there's some killing, yes there's death, yes there's healing, yes there's life, and all that stuff, and there is the balance in that. And again, this brother actually went into the whole hell thing. Oh, hold on, that was another one. Fuck, man, I'm trying to remember where the thing is. Hold on, Slakia. I'm give me one moment. All right, like I'm trying to remember where the thing is, because I just saw this one video. Where was it? I just fuck, bro. I must be somewhere else, or okay, yeah, whatever. I have to just forget it. But anyway, my main thing is just yeah, there is a balance, and Yahawadah does kill, he does heal, and all that stuff. He does everything. He created all that. All right, so as a result of that, there is the good and the bad. All right. And Romans 14:5, one man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. And that's the thing here, where at the end of the day, it goes to not necessarily, what's the word? Not necessarily not necessarily that not necessarily one specific thing, but more so the amalgamation of what the Lord allows for someone to be able to comprehend. All right, and it's through that we come to we all come to different conclusions, Slakia, different conclusions where the Lord is intentionally making these different subsections of beliefs, atheism, Christianity, the Israelites, and all that stuff. But yet there's only definitively one truth. And when it comes to the whole matter of what is the right thing, or should he have made another universe or something like that? Well, I think one of the biggest things I think is that, think about it like this. Look at all these different stories, like Marvel comics and stuff like that. Why did these creators, all right, make these antagonists? Why did Stan Lee, or whatever the fuck his name, make? I was about to say Darkseid. I meant to say Thanos. But yeah, why did he make Thanos to be some giant dick that's going around, killing half the population of the world and stuff like that? And it's look at all these different things. Look at all these different stories, for example, with these conflicts and all these different things. So now, are these people that create these stories, are they evil for doing that? But so why not just make a story that's just peaceful all the way through? There's nothing else bad. There's nothing that ever needs to be a conflict. All right, but yet he ain't got nothing to say about stuff like that. Why aren't all stories just everyone gets along, everyone thinks the same? All right, so that's kind of a thing. But in addition to that, who's to say that there isn't another universe where I'm the atheist in that other universe, or there's a different universe where I'm something else, or whatever? But who's to say that that this is not just a single universe? Because it's simply a matter of we just don't have the technology and the capability to kind of do that. But yet, it's a lot of this stuff is just outside of the realm of our knowledge. All right. Job chapter 14 verse 5, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. There are certain things that we just cannot get by. All right. Matthew chapter 10 verse 33, but whosoever shall deny me before men, him will I also deny before my Father which is in heaven. All right. So there are these people, and in a way, I bring this up because in a way, these two guys, the two on the left, they did kind of deny YAHAWAH in the sense that they were basically just speaking and saying things that were just blatantly false. Okay, so they were talking about saying, the Bible does not condone slavery. Well, yes, it does, and you saying that it's speaking against the Bible, that's speaking against and denying YAHAWASHI, because that's not what the Bible says, and you should know that, especially if you make a claim that you're a Christian follower, because Christian basically means follower of HaMashiach, which is Christ, who the world ignorantly calls Christ. Continuing on, 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 33, for Yahweh is not the author of confusion but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. So YAHAWASHI is not the author of confusion. He expects us to study, to be knowledgeable on his word and what is stopping you, just as what is stopping us from actually going in and learning. And sometimes it's not as easy as one might think of just let me just read the book, read the Bible, stuff like that. Sometimes it's a matter of, did the Lord send you the proper understanding, all right, or give you that understanding heart, or did the Lord leave you over to a corrupt mind? All right, I'm trying to remember the thing. gave you over. Romans 1:28, and even as they did not like to retain Yahweh in their knowledge, Yahweh gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. And that's what we see here. All right. Now, Hebrews 10, verse 7, then said I, lo, I come. In the volume of the book, it is written of me to do thy will, O Yahweh. All right. So, if being a follower of YAHAWASHI, you have to come in the entirety of the book. You have to accept the entirety of the book. There was no cherry picking and stuff like that. So as a result of that, this is why, me personally, I really don't like hearing these Christians talk and stuff like this. It really does annoy me to see this type of stuff, because I try my best to study, but at the same time, it's just like there's only so much one can learn in such a short period of time, and it's a gradual process. And for the whole Christian atheist debate, or more specifically the belief in a God in general, and then there's no God debate thing, obviously, me personally, I've always, even when it came to, personally, again, this is something personal for me, but even when it came to stuff about me, when I kind of struggled to maintain Christianity, well, I'll say that I was always a believer in YAHAWAH, and that never changed, thankfully. But I will say that for me, I always did kind of find a struggle in terms of rationalizing it. That's the best way to say rationalizing it, because there was never any strong arguments for me at the time. Thankfully, though, I have gotten into learning more stronger arguments on it in a general sense, like just anyone could use it, not just Christian, or not just me, but anyone could use it. And there were studies, right? There were definitely studies that kind of push in that direction. But again, it's really just something that I kind of, again, as I said before, I was struggling with it, and through the spirit and power of Yahawadah, I never felt like, oh man, I'm going to turn atheist or something like that. It was more so, I'm just going to keep this to myself. I'm never going to talk to anyone about it and whatnot. And that was basically what I ended up doing, where I never spoke to anyone. I never made this a thing unless I had unless I was in a specific conversation of, I'm with Christians or some shit like that, then okay, now we can talk about it, or now we can do that. But outside of that, there wasn't really any safe space, because everyone is just they just don't care. They just don't. They just accept the ridiculousness of Christianity, and then that's it. All right. But again, like, there's no building on that foundation. So slocky about that. I pray this lesson was edifying. I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahawah, Hashem, Yahawashi, Hashem, Quakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great most son of all, Shalom.